Jess here with the Not So Hopeless Wanderers, and I wanted to tell you today how excited I am for starters. It has been 1 year, not since I started budgeting, but since I've started snowballing my student loans. And in that amount of time, as you can see from the title of this video, I have managed to pay off $12,000 in debt. I'm so excited. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about a few things that have helped me pull that off. So I did a little bit of math. I went through all my payments. So like I said, I've managed to pay off $12,000. That is in principal. When I started snowballing on my student loans, I had a rough overall balance of about $42,000, and that was in August of 2015. And as you saw from my last budget update for August of 2016, I am just under $30,000 in student loan debt. So, like I said, I managed to pay off about $12,000 in principal. I went through all my payments, and total that I paid, including interest, so total payments that I've made, minimum payments, principal payments, everything all together, is, I have my number over here, is $14,123.96 in 1 year. So I mentioned in some other videos in the past that I didn't start actually budgeting until about February. I started in September, like I mentioned before, snowballing the student loans. So one of the first things that I started doing that helped me accomplish this in the past year is paying on the principal. I had this wacky theory before I started, following budgeters and people that were paying off debt, that what I would do is just, as I made extra money, I would save up lump sums and pay off a whole loan in its entirety. And that worked, back when I first got out of school. I mentioned before I was making more money, and I managed to pay off about $9,000 in student loans back in 2010. So that worked because I had some small loans, $2,000 here, $1,700 there, $2,700 there. And, as I made that money, I would just pay off that whole loan before any of them came due, before I had to make any minimum payments on any of them. So I thought that's how I was going to keep doing it, but these loans are getting bigger. The two loans that I first started working on as I started snowballing last year had an original principal balance of $5,500. After all of the minimum payments I had made over the past 5 years, they were down to about $3,000. But still, that's a large amount of money to amass, just waiting to pay it off. And as I was watching and following some other budgeters on YouTube, I realized that I'm wasting all this money on interest. If I'm just paying on the principal as I have the money, whether or not it's the entire principal balance, I'm going to be lowering my interest payments. So every principal payment that I make lowers my interest payments going forward. So that's when it hit. End of August of 2015, I made my first principal payment. Through the end of 2015, I've mentioned before, it was kind of haphazard. I'd have an extra $500 or so, I'd put that on a loan. Another month or two, I'd have another extra $500, but it was never specifically budgeted for. So I did manage to pay off, I think it was about $1,500 to $2,000 in principal, just doing it that way. So that's how I started, actually paying on the principal as opposed to trying to save up the entire amount of the loan and pay it off in full. The second thing that I started doing that helped immensely and is part of the focus of this channel is minimalism. I got really, really into the aesthetics and just the feel of minimalism, decluttering, getting rid of all the stuff that's just weighing you down. And in doing that, like I mentioned before in my minimalism and budgeting video, that caused me to stop buying stuff. Pretty much just anything but the bare necessities. Because when I looked around, I realized there's not really much that I need, other than our general grocery budget. The very occasional article of clothing here and there, if only because, another article of clothing falls apart. But really, we have all the things that we need. There's not really anything that he needs to be out regularly shopping for. Stopping the just random out of boredom trips to the store to just buy things over time, over the last year, has saved so much money and focused so much more money on my student loans. So that made a huge, huge difference in my budget. And then finally, as February rolled around, I got a written budget, and the rest is history. Getting everything actually written down. I knew what my budget was before. I knew how much money was coming in and how much was going out. I knew that I had enough for the mortgage payment, I had enough for my car insurance, I had enough for gas, I had enough for all of those things. And then I would just kind of spend money here and there. And all my payments were always made, but I never actually wrote the budget down. And I never had a goal to actually, monitor and follow through on. So once I got the written budget and I saw everything that was coming in, I could focus all of the money on the student loans. And by doing that, I've made such bigger payments. It's made a much bigger dent. It's made just a much bigger impact than just kind of casually throwing money at them as I have it. So getting the written budget, it's so important, and you'll hear it over and over and over again, but it makes all the difference in the world. And it's helped me to pay $12,000 in principal, just over $14,000 total principal and interest over the course of the entire year. I'm super, super optimistic about the next upcoming year because figure the first 4 to 5 months of this past year, I wasn't on a written budget. I was just casually throwing money at the principal. So to be on a written budget and this focused on my finances, on the money that's coming in and what's going out and for what purposes, I'm very optimistic that the next 12 months is going to be even better and we're going to pay off even more. So we'll see how it goes. I'm so excited to have you guys along with me, and we're going to have a great another year. Thanks so much for watching, guys.